Imagining stories you wish existed in the world. As you all know, you don't live in a perfect world. And you all know me well enough to know that I'm a big believer in people being problem solvers in their own lives. So if you don't have friends, you should work to make them. If you are unhappy with privileges that your parents give you or don't, you should have conversations with them to convince them to see things the way you see them. It's also true when it comes to reading. If you don't see the books you want to read that reflect your families, your friends, your interests, your lives, you should write them. Believe it or not, sometimes fiction stories whose facts you can manipulate to make things seem more believable feel closer to the truth than the true stories from your own lives. Today, I want to teach you that writers collect ideas for stories not only by discovering tiny details that could blossom into whole stories, but also by thinking about the stories they believe should exist. Sometimes they get ideas for stories by thinking, how can I write a story for people like me so I can see myself in books? Oftentimes, when you're looking through the library shelves for a book, you're looking to find yourself in a story. I may find myself wanting to find a book about someone like me who's afraid of, maybe parents getting divorced or afraid of feeling isolated or alone, or someone who gives their all in playing sports, or maybe about someone who really is interested in anime and drawing anime and um, controversies that come up because of that in classrooms, or maybe about love and acceptance. If you long to find yourself in a book and no book seems to tell the story that you want told, then you might decide it is important to put your truth onto the page in your own story. The author Thomas Berger once said, "Why do writers write? Because it isn't there." Let me tell you about how I use this strategy to come up with a story idea. The first thing I do is think about the books I want to read. So I always wish that there were more books about, the kids who kind of felt like outsiders, maybe because their family structure was a little bit different, or maybe they didn't feel like they had as much money as other people, and that just maybe a girl who just really wanted to fit in and really wanted to do whatever it takes to fit in. And maybe she even wants to throw a party and get a lot of other kids to come. So if I'm thinking about that, what I can do is write my story idea in my notebook, but I want to do it with the true little details, maybe combining the things that were once separate in my notebook. So maybe all of those things that I just listed were actually separate in my notebook, but I can pull them together for this story idea. And this is the story idea I came up with in thinking that way. So it's a girl who knows it's silly to feel this way, but she wants to be popular, mainly because she has a birthday party coming up and wants people to come to it. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to be popular and throw an amazing party. Did you see how I did that? That I took those small details that were in my notebook and then combined them together to set up a story idea? That's something I want you to try. And this chart can help you. And I have a copy of this chart also for you to glue into your writer's notebook so you have it accessible to you. And this chart is how to find ideas for fiction. So first, pay attention to the small moments in your life that could be fictionalized. Consider places where stories could take place and then imagine those stories. Read about current events in newspapers, blogs, magazines, etc. Allow yourself to be inspired by true events that could be fictionalized. Ask, what stories do I wish existed in the world? Let this question lead you to invent a character with traits, struggles, and actions. And finally, think about an issue that is important to you and create a character who struggles with that issue. We know that great books, great stories that we really want to read are stories that have trouble for the character. So make sure, no matter which one of these strategies that you use, that you think about how could the character struggle with whatever issue it is that you want them to struggle with, and build that into your story idea. Take the rest of the workshop time to practice these strategies, or choose one of these strategies to practice, or if you really feel like you're on a good roll with the story you started yesterday, you can certainly work on finishing that story. Set a goal for yourself about what you want to accomplish during this writing workshop time, and then work to achieve that goal. For your homework tonight, I'd like you to think about which story idea you like best. So you've got a list potentially in your notebook, or maybe you've already started writing a story. And I want you to think about which one you like the best. But what I want you to write about tonight is why you picked this story idea. Sometimes the process of thinking about why we're choosing what we choose makes the biggest impact in our process as a writer. So instead of writing more to your story tonight, I'm asking you to write about why you chose the story idea that you chose. And be ready tomorrow when you come back to share with a partner your thought process about why you chose the story that you did. Happy writing.